What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, the sports world is just going absolutely crazy with NBA and NHL Free Agency, especially NHL Free Agency. Just the deals flying left and right. I'm trying to keep up with them the best I can, so I'm going to report as many as I've heard so far, which is a lot. If anything else pops up as we're going, I'll announce that as well. And let's get started. But first off, I just want to let everybody know that apparently the Boston Celtics are up for sale. So Wiz Grusback, I think is his name, the owner of the Celtics, he is planning to put the Boston Celtics up for sale. That is just insane news. Completely out of left field. Of course, one of the most valuable sports franchises in any of the big four American sports. I cannot imagine how much money he'll get for it. For the team if he does sell the team. Put it this way, Michael Jordan got what, $3 billion or a couple billion for the Charlotte Hornets? That's the Charlotte freaking Hornets. So probably worth 3 or 4 times more than the Hornets. You know, you think different sport, but in baseball, the Mets sold for what? Steve Cohen bought the Mets for $4.5 billion. Like that's just absolutely crazy. I cannot imagine how much money he is going to get for the Boston Celtics. And it's a majority stake. It's not like a 20% stake. It's the majority stake. So he will get billions and billions of dollars for that team if he chooses to sell. Who knows? Maybe something happened. I don't know. But I'm reading something now. It says, according to a leaked source, he's looking to sell his stake in the team. The potential sale is not expected to include the entire investment group that purchased the team back in 2002. So we'll get more details as time goes on. But let's get into free agency. We're going to start with the NBA. Start off, the Raptors exercised the team option on Bruce Brown. $23 million. He could be a trade chip. That's probably going to happen. Raptors are probably not going to be too good next year. We'll also go into a big rebuild. You trade OG Anunoby to the Knicks. But during the season last year, I traded money. He sent Pascal Siakam to the Indiana Pacers. Also, you've been, kind of completely retooling. Bruce Brown, he's a good player. He averaged 10 points a game this year. He shot 47% from the field, 32 from three, 82 from the line. He's a really good defender. Of course, he won an NBA championship years ago with the Denver Nuggets. He's a good player. I'm surprised they didn't trade him at the trade deadline. Honestly, you got him at the Pascal Siakam trade. Thought they would flip him. They ended up hanging on to him. And not surprised they picked up his option because he's a guy they can definitely get something for. They can probably get a young player and a pick or two back. So he will be a trade chip. And the New Orleans Pelicans made a big trade right before the draft, actually. They get Dejounte Murray from the Atlanta Hawks. In return, they send Dyson Daniels, Larry Nance, and 2 first-round draft selections to the Atlanta Hawks. This is a really, really good move for the New Orleans Pelicans. I've been saying for a while they need an upgrade at point guard, and they get it. Murray's a really good player. He averaged 22, 5 and 6, 5 more assists, 22 points a game this season. He also shot 45% from the field, 36 from 3, 79% from the line. He's a solid defender as well. He's a really good fit for the New Orleans Pelicans. Don't give up that much. Dyson Daniels, the guy you took early in the draft, who's a top 10 pick going into his third year in the league. Still only going to be 21, 22 years old. This year, averaged 5 points a game. Shot 44% from the field, 31 from 3, 64 from the line. So still a lot of work to do. But he goes to a team that's clearly going into a retooling phase in the Atlanta Hawks. I'm sure he'll get to play a lot. If they didn't get a ton of playing time in New Orleans, only averaged like 15 or 18 minutes a game. And Larry Nance, he averaged 5 and 5. He shot 57, 41, 77. So he's a guy. He's a solid big to have on your bench. He can shoot the ball. Hopefully, he's far played in the league, and then you get the 2 picks. But Atlanta could have gotten a little bit more. You got a young guard. Then you get a rotational piece in Nance who might just be a trade chip than 2 firsts. So you could have gotten a little bit more. But Dejounte Murray's also on a pretty fair contract. He got a 4-year extension last year, I think, for about $120 million. So he's making 30 per for about the next 4 years. So in today's NBA, that's actually very fair. I mean, you got guys that are, kind of in the same boat as him, if not, in fact, you have inferior players to Dejounte Murray making a lot more money than that. So That was a really good deal for the New Orleans Pelicans. D'Angelo Russell has opted in to his $18.7 million option. This is a bit of a surprise. I heard he was probably going to opt out. He averaged 18 points a game and 6 assists, shot 45% from the field, 41% from three, 82 from the line. He got a lot of flack this year. He was inconsistent at times. He really struggled in the playoffs for the second year in a row. But overall, he's a good scoring point guard. You're getting out of him. He's not, this crazy good athlete. He is not going to defend anybody. But you need a point guard that can score. He's your guy. He's a very good scorer, very good shooter. I heard Lakers are going to try to trade him, so I'd not be surprised if he's not on the team. And right before Darvin Ham got fired, he said, when you have one of your starters, crap in the bed 10 games in a row, what are you supposed to do? He's kind of trying to defend himself. It appeared he was taking a shot at D'Angelo Russell, and of course, a day later, he got fired. Well, LeBron fired him. That's another talk for another day. We're going to get to LeBron very shortly, actually. But D'Angelo Russell is opting in by, I heard the Lakers are going to try to trade him. Who knows? Maybe LeBron wants Bronny to play. We'll see what J.J. Redick wants to do. Of course, they drafted Dalton next, so I'm not sure how he fits anymore, but he opted in. And, LeBron has opted out. He opted out of his player option, which is worth, I think, $51 million. He opts out. Much of a surprise. I'm sure he's going to re-sign a 3-year max. I guess would be worth $163 million. I mean, they hired his buddy, J.J. Redick, as a head coach. They drafted his son in the second round. And so I'd be shocked if he's not re-signed with the Lakers. Apparently he's going to take a pay cut. They said if they brought in either Valanciunas, James Harden, or somebody else, or Klay Thompson, apparently DeMar DeRozan is another guy he'd take a pay cut for. Valanciunas is now off the board, as is James Harden. I don't believe that. It's LeBron. I don't believe he's taking a pay cut, but we will see what happens. But that's what he said. Well, apparently it's a report. Who knows if he said that or not. He may have told people to say that he said that. On him. Troy Pistons declined their team option on Evan Fournier. Not a surprise. He doesn't have much left. 29 games with the Pistons after they got him in the trade that sent Bojo, McDonald, and Alec Burks to the Knicks. The trade line as well as Quentin Grimes. He averaged 7 points a game, only shot 37% from the field, 27 from 3, 79 from the line. Doesn't have a whole lot left. He had a great tenure in Orlando as well as Boston. He was in Denver early in his career. But his time with the Knicks was not been very good. 2 years ago, was very inconsistent. 2 years ago, the year before this year, was not very good. Was benched for Quentin Grimes mid-season, and this year Badu was a complete bench warmer. He's now has optioned declined. He's a free agent. The Philadelphia 76ers land Paul George. Paul George opted out of the last year of his deal with the Los Angeles Clippers. From a 4-year contract with the Sixers, got a max contract of $212 million. I think it's a good signing. He's a very good player, Paul George. I don't really get why people are putting Philly all of a sudden they're going to make a jump. They're still led by a guy in Joel Embiid, who is a great player, but extremely overrated, complete playoff choker, always hurt, especially in the playoffs. And also, I'm not the biggest Paul George fan. He's a very good player. He averaged 22 and 5 last year, shot 47% from the field, 41 from 3, and 90 from the line. So he's a really good scorer, phenomenal shooter. He's a good perimeter defender. He's a really good player. He's one of the 25 or 30 best players in the league. You put him next to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. That's a really good top 3. But now, we've seen this before. You got 3 guys who need the ball, who individually are all really good. Embiid's a former MVP, guy who gives you 30, 35, and 10 boards and block a couple shots every night. Tyrese Maxey is a guy that can give you 30 whenever he wants. Paul George is a guy that'll give you 25 and 7 whenever he wants. But, you're paying Embiid all this money. Now you're paying Maxey $50 million a year. Now you give Paul George $53 million a year. There's nothing left to spend on the rest of the team. Especially considering, Embiid is extremely injury prone. Paul George was helping this year, but in the past has been slightly injury prone. So, you will see where this takes them, but They landed Paul George because it's been a rumor for a while. They also they re-signed Kelly Oubre on a 2-year deal of $6.5 million. He averaged 15.5 boards this year. Shot 44 from the field, 31 from three, 75 from the line. He's never been a great three-point shooter, but he's a decent scorer to have on your bench, can defend a bit. So he is now a back in Philly. And they extended Tyrese Maxey on a 5-year extension worth $204 million, as expected. He averaged 25 and 6 assists this season. Was most improved player, was an absolute stud in that first round series against the New York Knicks. He shot 45 from the field, 37 from 3, 86 from the line, turning into an absolute superstar. It locks him down. The Bulldogs extended Patrick Williams, 5 years, $90 million. He's a pretty good player. He averaged 10 points a game this past year, shot 44 from the field, 39 from 3, 78 from the line. Was a 4th pick in the draft a few years ago. I thought they reached a little bit when they drafted him. I think he was a top 10 guy and a top 5 guy. He hasn't become a star by any means. He's had some injuries. When he's been healthy, he's been a decent player. I don't think he's ever going to be a star. I think he can be he's a very good three-point shooter. You saw he shot 39% from 3. This year he's gotten better with that each year. So he's a very good three-point shooter. I think a solid role player to have. If you look at the Bulls, they're trying to identify their young core. They're probably about to lose DeMar DeRozan. They're trying to trade Zach LaVine. They haven't had much luck, though. They're attaching a first-round pick to him and still don't have any suitors, probably because he's not a 1, but he's paid to be a 1. And he's got 3 years left and like 40 per plus, and he's injury prone. But you look at the young core, obviously, you get Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso. Well, nice they got a draft pick from that deal, considering the Thunder have like a zillion of them. But I guess you can't get everything, can you? You have 2 good young guards I like in Isumu and Kobe White. You draft Matas Bouzley in the first round, kid that I like. Now you lock down Patrick Williams. All right, you have something to build off of. They could use a few more picks. We'll see if they can get something for LaVine. Maybe a sign and trade if DeRozan's in the cards. Could they move Nikola Vucevic? But they lock him down. Indiana extends Obi Toppin. He re-signs 4 years, $60 million. I think it's a fair deal. We averaged 10 points a game this year. Averaged 57, 40, 77. Well, to me, he's the same player he was with the Knicks. He's a bit of a streaky shooter, but when he's on, he's very good. When he's off, he can't decide the backboard. But overall, a decent three-point shooter, good scorer, obviously phenomenal athlete, can jump out of the gym, but can't really defend anybody. But he's a solid piece to have in your rotation. Indiana re-signs him for 4 years. You have Lakers re-signed Max Christie, 4 years, $32 million. Look, $8 million in the NBA is nothing. I mean, Max Christie averaged 4 points a game this year. I think for his career, he's about at that. I think he averaged 4.2 this year. I think for his career, he's at like 4.8. He's not the best player. I mean, he shot 42, 35, 78, so he's a decent three-point shooter on your bench. That's about it. Come in, give you 2, 3 threes, head back to the bench. That's basically all we can do. But, $32 million, it sounds bad for a third-string player. I mean, he probably won't play. He wouldn't play much on their team. Lakers' depth is very bad. I think he averaged close to 20 minutes a game this year. If he was on their team, he'd probably average closer to 10. But also, $8 million in the NBA is nothing. Dante DiVincenzo for the Knicks makes 12.5. He's an average throwing shooting guard. They did a very good year this year. By the way, the Warriors are going to trade Klay Thompson. They announced they're going to work out a sign and trade for him. He will not be with the Warriors next year. And a 13-year run. He won 4 championships with the Golden State Warriors. Of course, developed into a Hall of Fame shooting guard, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. Of course, the second half of the Splash Bros, along with Stephen Curry, one of the greatest number 2 options, I would say, ever. Obviously, he's famously had that 39-point quarter. Had some, obviously Game 6 Clay is historic, but he's going to be moved. For the favorite right now is Dallas. Also in the mix are the Lakers and the Clippers. I think the Sixers are sniffing around as well. And they waived Chris Paul right before the $30 million contract guarantee kicked in. And he ended up signing with the San Antonio Spurs for a year for $11 million. I think this is a really good deal for the San Antonio Spurs. Chris Paul is not the guy few years ago was a perennial All-Star, and would average 20 points and 10 assists, and was going to lead a team to a championship, maybe a conference finals appearance. The guy can't get it done in the playoffs, obviously. And, you can't put him in the top, in like these top 5 point guard lists. The guy has not been great in the playoffs. He has not been able to win a championship. He's going to be 38, 39 years old. But as a number 2 point guard, I think he still brings value. He averaged 9 points and 6 assists a game. He's still a very good passer. Can score a tiny bit. Still a decent shooter. Shot 37% from the 3-point line. The Spurs just drafted, who's the kid they drafted out of UConn? Castle. Stephon Castle is drafted 4th overall out of UConn. He's hopefully to be their point guard of the future. Chris Paul is a phenomenal mentor to have. You saw how he mentored Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City the year he was there. I think he mentored Devin Booker in Phoenix to an extent as well. So Chris Paul will be an excellent mentor for Castle, and he still has value as a point guard and a locker room leader as well. And for $11 million per year again, $11 million in the NBA is nothing. He's a Spur. I've been busy. They re-signed James Harden, 2 years, $70 million. I don't really know why. He's not worth $35 million a year anymore. He averaged 60 points a game this year. 5 boards, 8 assists, shot 42 from the field, 38 from 3, 87 from the line. Look, he's still a very good 3-point shooter, a very good passer, a decent scorer, but he's nowhere near the player he once was. He's going to be 35 years old. He's not the guy that's going to average 33 a night, drop 35, 40 every night that he was doing in Houston. He's still a decent second or third option. He's still a good shooter. He can pass the basketball. He'll like 16 8 assists. That's shooting 38% from 3. That's what you're going to get out of him at this point. And then also terrible in the playoffs, and you never know if he's going to get pissed off and want to request a trade. Russell Westbrook picked up his $4 million option. Player option this year, he averaged 11 points a game, shot 44% from the field. As a backup point guard, he's still decent. He's still a decent scorer. He's obviously not a good for 3-point shooter. He never has been. Inside the 3-point line, he can still score. He's been around a long time, going to be 34, 35 years old. I heard they're looking to trade him. They're more likely to not be traded. He opted into his deal. Kevin Porter Jr. signed with the Clippers on a 2-year deal. This one was weird. So he's not playing in the league last year. He was in Greece. He obviously has had a slew of off-the-court issues that have kind of throughout his career. That's why he was out of the league last year. The last time we saw him, he was a really good player. 2 years ago with the Houston Rockets in 2022, 2023. He averaged 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 44% from the field, 36% from 3, 70% from the line. He's still only going to be 24 years old. Last time we saw him, he was a really good young player. Guy was a very good scorer, decent shooter. But if he can stay out of trouble, he's a very good young player. So, a project there for the Clippers. I don't really know what they're trying to do. You lose Paul George for nothing. Harden's going to be 35. Russ is going to be like 36. Kawhi's going to be 32, 33. He can't stay healthy. I don't think he cares anymore. Kevin Porter Jr., though he's very young, he hasn't played in the NBA in a year. He's obviously a PR disaster, a locker room disaster. So I'm not really sure what their plan is exactly. And then you have a mediocre coach in Ty Lue who you're now paying like he's freaking Greg Popovich for no reason. What do you got? $90 million deal? Jesus Lord, that is crazy. He's making almost $20 million a year as a coach. The Heat re-signed Kevin Love, 2 years, $8 million. I mean, he's not near the guy that he was in Minnesota. That was a perennial all-star. He's not the guy he was in Cleveland, who was a really good, second or third option next to LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. He averaged 8 points, 6 boards this year, shot 44 from the field, 34 from 37 from the line. So a decent score, okay for 3-point shooter. But, not much of a defender anymore. He's obviously much, much older. He's 35, 36. It looks like he's freaking 50. But he re-signs with the Miami Heat for 2 more years. The Detroit Pistons extend Cade Cunningham 5 years and $226 million. Gets a max deal. Hey, look, is Cade worth, that comes to what? A little over $55 million a year, whatever it is? Probably not. But I think I did the math wrong there. I think he's actually at like at $47 million a year. Probably not, but he's a very good young player. Averaged 22 points a game, 7 assists, shot 44% from the field, 35 from 3, 86 from the line. He's a really good scorer. He's a good shooter. He's a really good passer, decent defender, and he's still really young. Was #1 pick a few years ago. He's gonna be still going to be 23, 24 years old. The Pistons need somebody to build around, and now they have that in Kate Cunningham. So Philly stayed busy, brought in Andre Drummond, 2-year, $10 million option with a player option for the second year. Drummond's obviously not the all-star he was in Detroit, but he's a decent backup center. He averaged 8 and 9 last year, shot 55% from the field. I mean, look, he's not going to outside the paint. He doesn't have much use. He's a horrible free throw shooter. He shot 59% from the line last year for his career. I think he's a 54% free throw shooter, which is very, very bad. He's a very good rebounder, and a very good rim protector to have on the bench. And then you have you brought in Eric Gordon. He also signed a short-term deal. Gordon's not the guy he was in Houston a few years ago. That was one of the best 6 men in the league. But he's still a decent player to have on your bench. He had 11 points a game last year in Phoenix, shot 44 from the field, 37 from the line, 79 from 37 from 3, 79 from the line. So, all of a sudden, Philly outside Tyrese Maxey is starting to get a little bit older. Embiid is not getting any younger. He's still in his prime. You can Paul George, who's like 33. Eric Gordon's 36, 37. He's a decent scorer, pretty good shooter to have on your bench. For that. The Orlando Magic make a splash. They signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 3 years, $56 million. I like this deal a lot for the Orlando Magic. He averaged 10 points a game this past year. He shot 46% from the field, 4% from 3, and 89 from the line. He's turned into a really good 3-point shooter. He'll hit his free throw. He's a decent scorer. He won a championship 2 years ago with the Denver Nuggets. Was a big, underrated piece for them the last 2 years. I think he's a really good fit for the Orlando Magic because they need guys who can shoot desperately, and they get that with the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope sign. He's also a very, very good perimeter defender. He's a really good fit in Orlando. I like that deal a lot for the Orlando Magic. The Washington Wizards signed Jonas Valanciunas, 3 years, $30 million. But I think it's a good pickup for the Wizards, and Valanciunas is a good player, underrated. I'm questioning. Could Valanciunas have gotten a similar deal for a team that's not the freaking Wizards? This guy's a good player. He was an important piece in Toronto. He was an important piece in New Orleans. He's been an important piece wherever he's been for several different contenders. And he had to settle for the freaking Wizards. I mean, he just came off a 2-year, $23 million deal with the Pelicans. So that's what? Just over $11 million a year. That's 11.5 a year. So we got 10 per, but on 3 years. So we got slightly less per year, but an extra year this time. But I would have honestly, I would have rather taken $8 million to go to like Boston or the Knicks or somebody, Dallas or Oklahoma City or Minnesota. Minnesota has too many bigs that they wouldn't sign him. But you get the point. I would have taken $8 million a year to go to a contender and try to win a championship since he's like 32, 33 years old. Then to get 10 to 20 games of your freaking Wizards. But he's a good player. He averaged 12 and 8 last year, shot 55 from the field, 30 from 3, 78 from the line. He's a good inside scorer, very good rebounder, defender. Not a good 3-point shooter, but has the range out there. Will make one once in a while. He's a very good underrated center. The Mavericks signed former Pelican Najee Marshall, 3 years, $27 million. He's a decent rotation piece. He averaged 7 points a game last year, 46 from the field, 38 from 3, 79 from the line. He's a good 3-point shooter to have on your bench. Dallas adds him in rotation. Of course, he's basically replacing for Tim Hardaway Jr. at that point. The Clippers signed Derrick Jones Jr. 3 years, $30 million. Another veteran for them, I guess. He did have a good year this past year in Dallas. He averaged 8 points a game, shot 48 from the field, 34 from 3, 71 from the line. He's a good scorer to have on your bench. Shoot the play a little bit. I thought overall it was good in the postseason for Dallas in their finals run this year. Oklahoma City Thunder have been busy. They signed Isaiah Hartenstein, 3 years, $87 million. So he leads the Knicks. Very disappointing as a Knicks fan. That being said, $20 million a year guy for a guy who had 8-8 as the high mark of his career is a lot. He was if he finished the last 2 years, he developed into one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. His offensive game, in the paint, came a long way. He became one of the best rim protectors in the league. That's a really good piece for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Averaged 7-8 this year, shot 64 from the field. He's a guy. He's a good inside scorer. He's a great rebounder, good shot blocker, good rim protector. He's a nice piece for Oklahoma City. Him and Chet down low are going to be very, very good together. Aaron Wiggins signed an extension with the Thunder, 5 years, $47 million. Past year, he averaged almost 7 points a game, shot 56 from the field, 49 from three, 70 from the line. He's just a great shooter. He's just a really good 3D guy to have on your bench, still really young. The Oklahoma City Thunder team is very, very deep. And Isaiah Joe also was re-upped, signed an extension, 4 years, $48 million with the Thunder. He averaged 8 points a game last year, 45 from the field, 41 from three, 86 from the line. Another good 3D guy on the Thunder's bench. And the Pistons signed Tobias Harris, 2 years, $52 million. This one, I didn't understand. I'm not surprised he ended up in Detroit. That was rumored for a while, but he was getting to end up back with Detroit Pistons. He averaged 17-6 this year. Shot 48 from the field, 35 from three, 7 from the line. So he's a good scorer, decent three-point shooter, decent defender. He's just very average. I'm not sure why the Pistons are paying him $26 million a year. I don't know how he helps much. But he's a trade chip. They figure, all right, he's not good enough to move the needle for anybody. He's maybe a third option on a good team. But he also isn't bad enough to where if they want to trade him this year or next year, they can get something, maybe a decent young player and a pick or two for him. So, but he's back in Detroit. And the Boston Celtics extend Derek White 4 years, $126 million. White is a extremely underrated player, phenomenal fit in Boston. He averaged 15 points and 5 assists this year, 46 from the field, 39 from three, 90 from the line. He's a really good three-point shooter, good scorer. He's a great defender, really good locker room guy. He is a perfect fit for the Boston Celtics. He's a really good player, very underrated. I would argue he's the most impactful player for the Celtics. Their best player is obviously, point between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But White's probably the most impactful player. He does little things. His impact on the defensive end and his ability to hit the free ball. He just does a lot of things really, really well, and nothing he really does bad. He's a good scorer. He's a very good three-point shooter, great free throw shooter, really good defender, good locker room guy. He does things really well and nothing not well. If that makes any sense. Now on to NHL Free Agency, which has been absolutely insane. Looking up my phone to see if there's any other deals. Nothing yet. We'll see what happens. The Utah Hockey Club. The Arizona Coyotes moved to Utah. They're naming their team the Hockey Club for now, like the Washington Commanders did when they were the Washington football team after they changed their name. People had a problem with it, and they told Dan Snyder, "We're not giving you more money unless you change the team name." But they have been clamoring that for 20 years. He was like, "All right, fine." So we did it. So Utah made a trade with the Devils to get John Marino, a veteran defenseman. They got a lot of these picks in these trades were for the draft that just happened. So they got Marino for the 153. No, him in 153. The draft just already happened with the Utah. And then they got back 49 and a 2025 second round pick. That's what the Devils got. So they got a second rounder, and this is just drafting a second rounder in next year's draft. He's a defenseman, John Marino. 4 goals, 21 assists, 25 points. He adds a guy on the back end. They also make a trade with the Lightning to get Mikhail Sergachev, who's a very good defenseman. They get him for Connor Geekie, J.J. Moser, and a second-round pick in 2025. Sergachev had 2 goals, 17 assists, and 19 points. He's a solid defenseman. He's also been in Tampa for a while. Was on both the Cup teams and the fourth team that wasn't lost in the Cup Finals. Was on the 3 Eastern Conference championship teams and the 2 Cup teams. In return from against Connor Geeky, who was in the KHL all of last year. It flipped the goals of 99 points in the KHL, who's still only, I think, 20 or 21 years old. And he played in the AHL for 2 games last year, but didn't score a point. JJ Moser, last year, yeah, he actually had a good year. Had 5 goals, 21 assists, and 26 points. He's a good young defenseman Tampa gets. And then they get a draft pick. They get a second rounder next year. Tampa also sent out Taylor Janot. They sent him to the Los Angeles Kings for 118, and then they get a second rounder next year. Kings pick up Taylor Janot. Didn't do a whole lot this year. Played 55 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. A couple of years ago in Nashville, he had 26 goals. Has not been able to replicate that since, but he's a decent fourth liner. And he goes to the Kings. And that gets back a second round next year for him. You think, well, why would they be doing that? Probably because they made a big deal for Jake Gunsel. They get him for a third-round pick next year. Carolina, I guess, figured, all right, we're not going to be able to re-sign him. Let's get something for him. And then the Lightning re-sign him on a 7-year deal worth $63 million. Gunsel is a phenomenal player. He's an absolute stud. Had 30 goals and 47 points and 47 assists, 77 points here. And he missed 15 games early on in the season from her surgery from the year before. So he's a great player, one of the best players in the league, and he goes to Tampa. We have Penguins make a trade to get Kevin Hayes from the Blues. They get him and a second-round pick next year, and for future draft considerations. He's a little bit older now, of course. Came with the Rangers, became a good player there. He's bounced around from Philly and Winnipeg. He's bounced around. He was just in St. Louis. Now he's going to Pittsburgh. But he's still a decent third-line center, I would say. He had 13 goals, 16 assists, and 29 points last year. I'll say he's still a decent player. The Bruins are wild man trade. Bruins got Vinny Lettieri in the 110th pick, and they sent allowed Jacob Lauko, the 122nd pick in the draft already happened. Lettieri's whole career has been basically a death forward. He played 46 games this past year for Minnesota. He started with the Rangers. He had 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points. And Jacob Lauko, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points in 60 games for the Bruins. He's a solid defenseman, so that was a line for it to happen. Devils made another deal. They sent out, of course, they already made the deal for Jacob Markstrom prior to all this. Vegas gets Akira Schmidt and Alexander Holtz from New Jersey for Paul Cotter and a 2025 third rounder next year. Schmidt, 2 years ago, had a really good year as the backup to Vitek Vanecek after they came up from the minor leagues. He took over in Game 3 of the first round of the Easter Conference against the Rangers, and he played well. Did not have a good year this year. Only played 19 games. He was 5.91. He got 3.15 goals against average at 95 save percentage. He played well against the Rangers, but also the Rangers were very bad offensively in that series 2 years ago. You saw it in the next one against Carolina. He was terrible. So he had 2-on-3 goals against average the year before. But he only played like 23 or 25 games. I think if he has a really good group in front of him, he can be a decent backup goalie. But I don't think he's a starter. And you see the Devils regress potentially this year, and look what happened. Alexander Holtz is a really nice pickup for the Golden Knights. He's a good young player. He had 16 goals this past year. Also has 28 points. He's still only going to be 23 years old. He's still really young. Vegas picks him up. And they sent out Paul Connor goes the other way to New Jersey on loan with the draft pick. Connor, 7 goals, 18 assists, and 25 points this past year. Let's pick him up. Probably figured, all right, so we have Marshall, who's a good goalie. Schmidt isn't needed anymore. We sent him away. And, Devils should be doing something else. They need another piece or two on the back end, maybe one more piece for the bottom 6. So maybe they're opening up room for that by also sending Alexander Holtz for Paul Collar and a draft pick, but he did that. And Capitals make a move for a goal. They got Logan Thompson from the Vegas Golden Knights for the 8th pick in the draft they already have, and a 3rd-round pick next year. Logan Thompson, he's overall a good goalie. 46 games this past year, he was 25-14-5 with 2.7 goals against average and a 9.9 save percentage. To be honest, he's an all-star caliber goalie. health was the main concern. 2 years ago, the year before this past year, he had a really good year, was an all-star, but then was injured a lot of the back half of the season. He didn't play at all in the playoffs, and this past year, he also battled a lot of injuries. He battled some injuries, but when he's healthy, he's a very good goalie. Capitals, could use that. Haven't had a legit goalie ever since Braden Holtby was in his prime a bunch of years ago. You had Vitek Vanacek for a bit. Shorty Lindgren last year, who wasn't great. It's definitely an upgrade for sure in that for the Washington Capitals. And they also made another move to get Jakob Chichurn, veteran defenseman. They get him for Nick Jensen and a third-round pick from the Ottawa Senators. Chichurn's look, he's not a great defender on the back end by any means, but he's a really good offensive puck-moving defenseman. 14 goals, 27 assists, 41 points this year. He's a really good player. That's a nice move for the Capitals. That's a really good value again for Jensen and a third in 2026. Jensen's a decent player. A goal, 13 assists, 14 points. He's a solid. He's got good speed. He's a solid, fifth defenseman, fourth defenseman, but that's a very good move for the Washington Capitals. The Capitals make a couple of moves, but the Leafs have been busy. So they extend Max Domi 4 years, $50 million. He's been around for a while, obviously. Ty Domi, of course, one of the more tougher players in the history of the NHL, was a very good player for a while. He's had a few very good years. He had 9 goals, 30 assists, 47 points this year. That's why he's not doing what he's done. He's had a couple of years it's kind of out of nowhere. He's giving you 25, 26 goals, 27, 28 goals, 40, 50, 60 points. But for the most part, he's been around like that 8, 9, 10, 12 goals, 40, 50 points range. So that's the guy they extended in the bottom 6, but did not stop there. Also brought in Chris Tanev, 6 years, $26 million. Towns is a very good defenseman. 2 goals, 17 assists, 19 points. He started in Calgary. They eventually sent him to Dallas at the trade deadline. He's a very good player. It's a lot of money for Chris Tanev, but definitely needs help on the back end for sure. Tanev will definitely provide that. They also re-signed their goalie, Joseph Woll, a 3-year deal. He gets $3.6 million per year. He overall had a good year this year. In 25 games, was 12-11-1, 294 goals against average, now 7 save percentage. So not phenomenal. Also didn't have the best team in front of them. Overall played well, I thought, in the first-round playoff series against the Boston Bruins, especially in games 5 and 6. But Alvin was injured for game 7, didn't play. If they had Samsonov, who did play well in that game, the Bulls was able to come out the win and avoid blowing up their lead again the first round. That would have been hilarious, but losing separate to Florida, so that's okay. Woll resigned. It looks like he'll probably be their starting goalie. Toronto, I don't expect anything from them. I never will. They've lost in the first round every year besides the year before. It's one. Until the year before this, the Atlanta Thrashers had more first round, and more recently won a first round playoffs. They have not been a team in almost 15 years at this point. It's got to be. That's you all need to know. Also added Oliver Ekman-Larsson, a 4-year deal with $14 million. He's still a decent player. He's come out of the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. He's still a decent player. I'm not sure why we're giving him 4 years. Why they gave him a 4-year deal? I think he's 36 years old. So the back half of that deal doesn't look great. He's still a decent player. I think he had 9 goals and 23 assists this past year for Florida. He's still very good on the power play. Still a decent defenseman. He was Florida's fifth or sixth defenseman. He's on their third pairing. Toronto, he'll be one of their top 4 guys. Moving on, Detroit Red Wings re-signed Patrick Kane on a 1-year deal with $4 million. I think this was a good deal for them. He overall had a good year. He had 20 goals, 27 assists, and 47 points to them in 50 games. Remember, he was coming off surgery year before, so he took a while to sign. Detroit brings him back. He's still a good player. He's not the guy that was giving you 100 points every year in his prime in Chicago. But if he's healthy, I think he's still a very good second, third line player. also signed Cam Talbot on a 2-year deal. He go to Detroit Red Wings for $5 million total. Talbot's been around a long time. He started with the Rangers. He was a young backup. The 1 year where Henrik Lundqvist missed a lot of time when he had that vascular injury. He stepped up big time. And after that, they ended up trading him. Since then, he's bounced around. He's had a few very good years. He's had some bad years. He's been inconsistent, but he had a good year this past year. He was the starting goalie for the Los Angeles Kings. 54 games, he had 27, 20, and 6, 2.5 goals against average, 913 save percentage. So got a good year. A decent goalie. Detroit might need a little better team in front of him. I would say an upgrade to whatever they had in net this year, Detroit. It's definitely they need still. The Florida Panthers re-signed Sam Reinhart. Year, $600 million, something that just needs to happen. He had 57 goals this past year, second most in the league. I think 28 of them were on the power play, which is most in the league. He's turned into an absolutely phenomenal player. I'm thinking, Buffalo Sabres are really freaking good at developing talent. The reason they can't keep them, Jack Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly, Sam Reinhart, I could keep Ramos Ristolainen. I could keep going. Like, it's crazy how good they are at developing talent, but they can't keep these guys because they're just so bad. Like, if they kept all these guys, this team might be a dynasty. Like, that's hilarious to me. Crazy. Like, their handles are all over the league. It's absolutely insane. Other moves that happened. Chicago was busy. They bring in Tyler Bertuzzi, 4 years, $22 million. He was in Detroit for a bit, then he was in Boston. And so he's been around 21 goals, 22 assists, 43 points. He's a very good player. I think a very good, solid second line player. So he is now a Blackhawk. Not stop there. They brought back Teuvo Teravainen on a 3-year deal with $5.4 million a year. But he started there. He's blossomed into a star in Carolina. He's a very good player. He goes back. The Chicago Blackhawks had 25 goals, 20 assists, 53 points for the Hurricanes this year. So another piece of the Hurricanes lose. That was bound to happen. I mean, they went for it and missed. That's gonna hurt you. You give everything to get Gunsel. You also brought in Kuznetsov, and you lost him in the second round. Teravainen's a very good top 6 forward. He goes to Chicago. And now they also bring in Alex Martinez on a 1-year deal. That's a really good deal. He's now 36 years old, but he's still a solid defenseman for sure. It's only for a year. Don't know the financial terms yet. He's a very good player. He won a cup with the Kings in 2014. He actually had the game-winning goal in Game 5 against the Rangers in double overtime to win. I believe he was on the Vegas team that won the cup 2 years ago. So he's won 2 cups, a ton of playoff experience. Like I said, 2 Stanley Cups, and he's still a solid defenseman as well. That's a good move for Chicago. Chicago had a ton of injuries this past year. Bedard, who was the Rookie of the Year, was hurt. Taylor Hall battled injury. So, their top line was basically a fourth on any other team. If they're healthy, they could be a lot better. You will see what happens. Steph Jones is the top defenseman they have. So, we'll see what happens. The Nashville Predators were extremely busy. First off, they signed Jonathan Marshall on a 5-year deal worth $5.5 million a year. I'm very bad at math, but I think that comes to $27.5 million total. He's a really good player, Jonathan Marshall. He had 42 goals this past year and 7 points with the Vegas Golden Knights. Was on the Cup team 2 years ago. He was one of the few original members from their expansion draft 7 years ago that they still had. He's now gone. He's now in Nashville. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league. He's definitely a top line forward. He signed to Nashville. Nashville also signed Steven Stamkos, 4 years, $32 million. Stamkos getting a 4 years a little long. I think he's 36 years old, but he is still a phenomenal player. He had 40 goals this past year, 41 assists, and 81 points. He's still an amazing player. Still one of the better hockey players in the league. Still an absolute stud who can absolutely be first-line center. Goes to Nashville. And they also signed Brady Shea to a 7-year deal for about $7 million a year. Shea came with the Rangers, been with Carolina for a while. He's turned into a really good offensive defenseman. 13 goals, 34 points, 47 4 assists, 47 points. So Northeast Carolina loses. Shea goes to Nashville. So Nashville has been really busy. Speaking of Carolina, they keep Jakob Slavin long term. They extend him 8 years, $52 million. He's a really good defenseman. He has 6 goals, 31 assists, and 37 points. They extend him. Florida does lose a piece, though. It was Brendan Montour. He goes to Seattle, 7 years, $50 million. Not surprised about the contract at all. He was going to get it back. He had a really good year. He turned into a really good player. He had 8 goals, 25 assists, 33 points. He's phenomenal on the power play. He's a great defenseman, a phenomenal puck mover, offensively minded. He's a solid defender. He's a star on the power play. Can be on pretty much any team's top power play unit. Really good. He goes to Seattle. And the Bruins make a couple of moves. They signed Elias Lindholm to a 7-year deal worth $7.75 million a year. He's a very good player. 15 goals, 29 assists, 44 points this year. I think he's a solid second-line center. We'll sign Nikita Zadorov, 6 years, $30 million. Yeah, 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points a year. He's a solid defenseman. Something I definitely needed. That's a good move for the Boston Bruins. And but they lost a few pieces to the Vancouver Canucks. So Vancouver decided, let's just bring in a bunch of Boston Bruins. They signed Jake DeBrusk to a 7-year deal worth $38.5 million. DeBrusk was a top prospect. Never turned into a stud that Bruins thought he was going to, but he turned into a very good player. 19 goals, 21 assists, 40 points this past year. He's a solid second or third line player. Vancouver adds him. They definitely need to get better offensively. They were had an historically low amount of shots per game. Actually, I think it's not Dallas, but either way, they need to get better offensively. They found Danton Hine, 2 years, $4.5 million. Another solid player, 17 goals, 19 assists, 36 points. They're a solid second, third line guy. And then they brought in Derek Forbort for a year, $1.5 million. He had a lot of injuries this year, only played 35 games, no goals, 4 assists, but he's a solid defenseman to have on your third pair if he's healthy. And Edmonton makes a move to get Victor Arvidsson, 2 years, $8 million. He was out most of last year, only played 18 games, 6 goals, 19 assists, 15 points. But the year before, he had 26 goals. He's always been in like that 25 to 28 goal range. He's a really good top 6 forward. Another weapon offensively for Edmonton. You need a goalie. They don't have that. So hopefully they can figure that out. But they picked up a big piece for their offense in picking up Victor Arvidsson. I think that's all I have. Oh, the Rangers made a move. So the New York Rangers have traded for Riley Smith. So this is actually a move I do like for the most part for the New York Rangers. Smith is an older player. He's going to be well into his 30s. He was a third-round pick back in 2009. He's going to be 33 years old this year. Still a good player. He had 13 goals, 27 assists, and 40 points in this past season for Pittsburgh Penguins. He was on the Vegas' Cup team. He's had some rookie years. He was in Florida for a short time. He's had over 25 goals 3 times in his career. A little bit older, but he's I would say a solid second, third line right wing. They're just really like a top level wing on the right side. And then next to Mika Zibanejad. Riley Smith definitely helps, and it seems like they didn't give a ton of picks for him, just as draft picks. So, but I do like that move for the New York Rangers. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm sure I'll have much more NBA Free Agency tomorrow. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.